as we mentioned earlier, we're going to tackle the 10 persuasion techniques. Let's start with the first one, creating mutual trust. So this basically means you have to show you're on the same page with the person you need to persuade. And how do you do that? You have to show empathy, you have to show curiosity, and another thing it's good to try is mirroring the body image of the other person. That means if that person is directed to you in this way, you should say in the opposite way, facing that person. Also, smiling when the other person smiles is a good thing. Now, after you do this, it's all great if you manage to fit a bit of the nonverbal language that the other person is presenting. And we're gonna go more in depth in the next advice regarding body language. But you need a bit something more. So, what is that extra you need to tackle? It's about talking on common subjects. How do you talk about a common subject if you just met a person? Surely you don't know the whole interest that they have, but you can find out. Let's say you're at a networking event, you're the owner of your startup, and you want to pitch your idea to one of the investors. Of course, what do you do when you don't know a person? You introduce yourself. You say your name, what do you do, and what you are at the event for. After you do this, you make some small talk, according to which you will ask them what their interests are. Maybe not so upfront, but you have to find a formula that is fit for the context, that will allow them to share their interests with you. Now, there are two hypotheses. First one is when you know what to talk about when they are mentioning their interests, and you can develop this subject. However, if you don't know what their interests imply, and if you're not an expert in the matter, it's better to just refrain from talking yourself on that subject and pretend that you know, and just let the other person do the talking and show your interest by asking questions, like trying to learn more about their interests. Okay, so another way of showing and creating mutual trust is the voice synchronizing. That means, for example, if you have a colleague that will work with you on a project in the company you work in, and you wish to get that colleague on your side, knowing that decisive meeting is going to come up in 1 week or so, then you can start building up the relationship with that colleague. Of course, you can't build a full relationship with a colleague if you were very rude to that colleague, or if that colleague was rude to you. But you can do some steps in order to improve it, and this is usually very good if you are in good terms or neutral terms with the counterpart. So let's say you meet a colleague, and the colleague, which is a bit down, it's upset. So it's very advisable that you don't try to cheer him or her up, because it's going to trigger the opposite effect. It's going to make it more irritating, because frankly speaking, if you are down, would you like someone to be overhyped and cheerful around you? I don't think so. So the only thing you can do is show empathy. Try to imitate their tone of their voice, but not so close as in to sound that you are patronizing them. So it all comes down to common sense. Another hypothesis is when, for example, you encounter a person, someone at work, maybe your boss, who is a bit distant to you at one point. Now, you shouldn't try to come too close and ask like, oh, what can I do? Did I do something wrong? It only shows that you are situating yourself somewhere inferior to them. You should just reply with the same type of attitude, yes, in the sense that you can also distance yourself a bit from them, but you shouldn't go on with this on a very long period of time. You should limit it only for the moment of encounter, and that's it. And Then you can pretend as if nothing happened, everything is fine, and things will get better. So this is, if all these techniques don't work for creating mutual trust, then you should try modifying them, meaning that you can speed up your voice rhythm. You can higher the pitch of your voice if the other person has a lower pitch of your voice, or if you have been talking with a lower pitch of your voice, so that it creates like it breaks a bit the pattern, and it will bring the other person's attention to you. Now I will let you think about this a little while, and we are going to the next persuasion technique.